How better go, how better go there, how better go there, how better go where, how better go here, better go here, how better now, how better go.
Real estate investment tools for tax deed property research. Welcome back. Now, the most successful investors all use technology of some sort. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Now, the best opportunities is what we're all looking for. We all want to make some good returns on our investment. So let's talk about some of the tools that people are going to use. Now, I'm a specialist at tax defaulted real estate, and that's just traditional real estate where people haven't paid the tax. But no matter what kind of real estate you're going to be involved in, you're going to have to do some research. So all of this will apply. So for the past 30 years, I've been involved in the tax defaulted business, which really what we're trying to do, we're trying to buy bargains that people have let go. In other words, there's property owners that refuse to pay tax or don't pay their property tax, and those properties end up at tax defaulted auctions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get her going here. Start me off. Where to bid to go? Have it $1,000, open it up.
And we're trying to buy those, and we're trying to earn money buying those, and we're trying to earn money when we sometimes finance those properties. So when I started out, which wasn't exactly in the dark ages, everything was done at the local county, which it still is, but there wasn't very much online. Everything was offline. So what did that mean? Well, that means that the county required we send them a letter in snail mail and request a list of properties that were going to be sold. Or you could actually travel to the county and ask for a list to be sold. So when they had time, they would send that out. Or if you went there, you just had to wait until they printed you one. So today, that's all changed. So where do we start? We start with a computer, and your computer is going to get you right to the county if you're attached to the internet, and then you're going to be able to get a list of the tax defaulted property. So that's a good place to start out with our investment tools, is knowing that the majority of the information that you're going to need will be right at the local county. So I've also developed what I call an interactive map and auction calendar, which while I'm talking, you'll see some pictures of that go by. But basically, you can put your cursor right over a state, and when you hover over that state in the union, what you'll be able to see is how many auctions are going to take place in that state during the next 30 to 90 days. So there's a tool that will help you a lot. Now, the members that use that particular thing, they're going to be able to find out a lot of data, not just that the state is having auctions, but a lot of statistics about the property. For example, what the minimum bid is, what the property is as a tax assessed value, when the auction is going to take place, and a lot of data like that. So technology-wise, there's dozens of ways to locate these properties, all right? But tax defaulted property, you want to find those at the county records and get a tax defaulted list. So there's lots of informational sites where you can learn about real estate, and that's what you want to do. All right, so what are the sites going to be called? Well, there's going to be sites for single-family homes. There's going to be sites for apartments. There's going to be residential land. There's going to be cultivated land. There's going to be agricultural land. I mean, there's a lot of different sites to research, so you can do a lot of your work at home. So what's today's lesson? Today's lesson is real estate investment tools for tax deed property research. Most of that can be done right at the county records. Okay, so the key to buying tax defaulted property is to understand values. Now, where are you going to get values? First of all, the easiest way to get them is to go to realtor.com or go to the MLS system, and you'll know a lot about values in surrounding areas. All right, now in the tax defaulted business, it's very important that you have a visual of the neighborhood where you're going to buy. In other words, you don't want to buy a property without seeing it, but you also want to make sure you've got a visual of that neighborhood. The property you can change, the neighborhood you can't. So if you're going to be able to change the property, and it's already in a good neighborhood, and you can change it to be like the good neighborhood, probably going to be a profit-making situation. Selling in a bad neighborhood is going to be a tougher job than selling in a good neighborhood, and I'm sure you all recognize that. So in the tax defaulted property business, the properties are really slightly used and abused. Some of them are actually junk. You don't want to buy junk, but others just need a clean up and touch up with paint, and they're ready to sell. I don't know what you're going to bid on, which one you're going to buy, but that neighborhood is going to be the key. So when you buy a tax defaulted property, understand you're going to get it as-is property. So when you get the as-is property, you want to make sure it hasn't burned down, there hasn't been a flood, there hasn't been a hurricane or anything like that. All right, now, who do we sell these properties to when we buy them? Well, there's fixer-upper people. They want to do that, so guys and gals like to do that. Then there's other people that like to do things like flip them. They like to just get them and then quickly market them and get them back into the market. They probably don't create a lot of value, but they try to buy undervalued property and sell them quickly into the market. And then there's the renovators, which we see and hear from all the time on television now. And what they're doing is they're buying a mediocre property and then they completely change it. They modify the inside, they modify what the outside looks like, and they use contractors to do that. So they take a mediocre property and they try to make it look like a mansion. And they do that, and they spend a lot of money doing that. All right, all of those people are the kind of people that would buy our tax defaulted property. So there's more research. So you want to research and find out who they are so that you can be able to sell to them in the future. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. All right, so there's tons of tools to get involved with in real estate. Now, you can get bogged down and just use the tools and stay online all the time. You're not going to make much money staying online all the time. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get out there and see what those properties look like so that you have boots on the ground so that when you buy them, you know exactly what you're buying. All right, so the primary tool for the tax defaulted business is going to be the county records and doing your research there and looking at what those properties are like. All right, does that preclude you from selling it? No, not at all. You can do any way you want to sell it. You can use Craigslist, you can use eBay, you can use Trulia and Zillow, you can use Facebook Marketplace, you can do Airbnb. I mean, there's just a ton of places to sell property. As a matter of fact, the successful buyers are going to be the successful sellers. So if you know how to sell these properties, you're going to be able to do a lot more than anybody else. Do you need the multiple listing service? I say use it, but you don't have to have that. But some of the sites will have as many as 600 multiple listing services on one site. So that gives you a ton of places just to research by getting onto that one site. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about things like roof stock. You know, these are sites that have photographs and show neighborhoods. All right, you just need to gather as much information as you possibly can to make a better decision. Now, Zillow and Trulia are there. These people sell a lot of property, good places to look, find out comparable values, because when you buy, you're going to want to sell at one of those comparable values. When you buy, you're buying used and abused. As I say, don't buy the junk at the auctions, but there will be plenty of properties that just need a clean up and paint and they're ready to go. So either you or someone that you trust needs to be the boots on the ground. Keep in mind, when you buy a tax defaulted property, when the auctioneer's gavel comes down and they say sold, that means you own the property. Now, you're going to own that property. You're going to pay for it. If you haven't looked at it, that's not going to be the time to do your due diligence. It's too late then, because now you own the property. They're not going to give you your money back at the auction. When you go to a tax defaulted auction, you better have looked at that property prior to going to that auction. I don't care how many tools you get online or offline. If you haven't looked at the property, you're going to have a big challenge on your hand. All right, now think about who your competition is. If you haven't sold a tax defaulted property before, you need to start thinking about who you're going to sell it to. So I already named off things to think about. You could use fixer-upper people, obviously guys and gals doing that. All right, what about people that are doing flippers? Well, they don't care about fix-up so much. They just want it undervalued, and then they want to sell it. So they're probably pretty creative marketers. But then there's the renovators. They're taking mediocre and they completely rebuild it and make it look much different by modifications, and they try to make it into a mansion. So you need to be thinking about who you're going to sell these properties to. So real estate investment tools include knowing who your buyers are going to be when you go to sell this property, okay? So as I said earlier, traditional real estate is what I'm involved in, except the traditional real estate has defaulted property. And that's what I've been doing for the past 30 years. So this is where we try to make money, because these properties are sold for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, although they may have much higher tax assessed value. All right, so the people that forfeit property, they don't pay the taxes. That means they're forfeiting their privilege to own the property. The county is going to confiscate that property, and they're going to resell it. Starting bid is going to be somewhere around the back taxes. So if you want to buy at those kind of low prices, well, that's what we're talking about today. Now, in all 3,000 counties across the United States, they sell tax defaulted property. So the treasurer is responsible for levying a tax on that property, and they're going to levy the tax, and then they're going to confiscate it, and then they're going to put it into the market. All 3,000 plus counties will have tax defaulted property. So how do you find them? They're all going to be online. So it's not going to be difficult. The treasurer's going to cancel the mortgage, and they're going to wipe out any deed of trust that's on the property. So you're buying a property without a mortgage loan on it. So savvy investors have figured this out. So this is something you want to figure out, be able to do the same thing yourself. Okay, quick review here. When you want to sell the property, you want to do it in a lot of places. This is the biggest mistake people make. It's a big blunder. They think someone's going to come and take the property away. You need to put the property on eBay. You need to put it on Zillow. You need to put it on multiple listings. You need to make a posting and put it on Craigslist. You need to use Facebook Marketplace. Every electronic site you can find, you need to be trying to sell this property. All right, now I'm about to finish up, but you've got to get this right. This is going to be a smooth business for you if you get out there and really market the property. If you don't do that, you're not going to get your business off the ground. You're going to have problems. In some cases, a property just needs a Band-Aid. I know that. Other cases, it's going to be major life-saving surgery. Buy the ones that just need a Band-Aid. Don't get the other ones. Okay, now I'm going to close this video out by telling you I have an interactive map that reveals how to locate all the defaulted properties in every county in the United States. All right, you get a sample of that by just going below. You can get a sample of an auction list, and it's right below me. Last thing I have to say is don't make the mistake of not looking at a property. If you haven't looked at the property, you don't know whether they've had a fire. You don't know if it's next to a chicken farm. You don't know if there's been a hurricane. You need to look at the property before you make that first bid at the auction. All right. While you're looking at the property, look around the neighborhood. What's your exit strategy going to be? You want to know your exit strategy so you don't bid too high. I'm Ted Thomas. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.